Welcome. And first of all, we want to thank all of our volunteers for agreeing to help with these voting surveys. I will say last year, we got over 550 surveys, and that would not have happened without the help of volunteers and Yusuf's team and their great work in getting us volunteers. So we really appreciate all of our volunteers and all of the help that they give us. And we hope that this training will be helpful in terms of giving you a little bit more information on how to do the survey and what we expect. So I am already screen sharing. So let's get started. Okay, we'll do. So my name is Rachel Loria, and I'm a senior advocate here at Disability Law Center of Virginia. Just some general reminders. Don't worry about the billing part because that's for staff.
Rachel, I'm only seeing the PowerPoint with the email to the side on your screen share.
Yeah, let me stop screen share and do a new screen share. Hold on.
Yeah, that might help.
Sorry about that. We love technology when it works. Okay, now are you seeing general reminders?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Okay. So we ask that all surveys be submitted electronically. We're going to send you a link to that survey so that you guys can complete that. And if you are watching this later, we'll send all of our volunteers a link. If you are going and surveying in a place that does not have great internet, it's fine to do a paper copy of the survey and then type it in and submit it electronically after the fact. But it needs to be submitted electronically so that it can be included in our data. So the first thing that we're going to ask for when you're at your polling site is just your name, the date that you're voting, and this can include if you're monitoring early voting sites, the time that you're voting, the location, and we want the name of the precinct and the address, and the county and or city where you are. So these first series of questions are going to be for outside the polling location. The first one is, did you see curbside voting or did you see a sign for it? Signs for curbside voting can mean a whole lot of different things, but they should at the very minimum have a phone number to call if no one is outside. And I'm going to show you an example of that in just a minute. But we're going to ask for this one that you answer yes or no. We also included the option for you to give us comments on what you're seeing or what you're not seeing. So these are some options. I'm going to kind of describe these as we go, but these are two pictures for curbside voting. One is a blue sign that has a picture of a wheelchair on it, and it says, please call, and it has the number to call. The other one is a sign on a traffic cone that's a lot smaller, but it does have a number for you to call for curbside voting. So that's the bare minimum that we're looking for is a number. Is that a question? I guess not. Okay. So the bare minimum that you need to look for is to see that there's a phone number to call for curbside voting. The next question is a new question to our survey, and we want to see if poll workers are reporting any barriers to curbside voting. And now this is not a question you have to ask everywhere, but if you have a chance to ask some of the people working at the polls, we just want to know if they have had any obstacles to assisting voters with curbside voting, with accessing curbside voting. And like I said, yes, no, or NA if you didn't have a chance to ask, and provide any comments. You do not have to ask this at every location. We do ask that if they are busy with other voters, do not disturb them because we don't want to We don't want people thinking that we're disturbing the election process. So you don't have to ask this at every location, but it's just good for us to know if poll workers are experiencing any obstacles with helping people access curbside voting. The next one is, are there accessible parking spots, and are they closest to the door? This is really important because sometimes if a polling site is not completely accessible every day of the year, they try to move things around for elections. And sometimes they forget to move the parking. So we also want to know if there's a symbol for accessible parking. If it's drawn on the ground, like in the picture that I'm going to show you in a minute, please let us know that because it makes it more difficult to identify parking.
We're getting some background noise.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of background noise. If people can either mute if they don't have questions, that would be really helpful. So again, accessible spots closest to the door, yes, no, or comments. This is kind of what we expect in terms of accessible parking signage. This one drawn on the ground makes it more difficult if there's no other signage. So if it's something that you think is not clear, just take a picture or let us know. Next one is a new question to the survey, and that is the accessible entrance to the building the same entrance as the voting entrance? And again, this is a change when people are making changes to the polling site, they sometimes forget to change the accessible entrance, or they make the voting entrance upstairs, like in this picture, in the first picture here, where it's pointing to stairs and it says vote here. So we want to make sure that the voting entrance is accessible. And again, we ask for yes, no, or comments, and you can also send us pictures. And we're going to show you how to do that in just a minute. The next one is, was there a smooth, clear path of travel from the parking lot to the voting entrance? The picture shows a polling location with a gravel lot that is not smooth or a clear path of travel. And again, we ask for yes, no, or comments on this one. Okay, this one is, can the door be opened with a closed fist? And I will say before this that if the door is being held open with a cone or a person holding the door open, this does count as a yes. So can the door be opened with a closed fist? Yes, no, or comments? Now, if the door seems, if it can be opened with a closed fist, but it seems heavy, if it's your polling place and you're going in there, let us know that. That's something you can give us and provide for us in the comments. Okay, now we have some questions for your own polling place. And we are trying to sample these questions this year to see what kind of responses we get. But once again, these are questions only for your own polling place. We don't expect you to go in to other polling places that are not your own. So if you're going to vote in person or turn in your ballot, if you're voting absentee and you're turning in your ballot somewhere where there's voting, these are questions that you can ask. So when you are at your own precinct for voting, is there an audio ballot voting equipment? These are equipment specifically for individuals who have low vision or who are blind. So we want to know every single polling place has to have one of these machines, and we want to know if there is one. You don't have to identify yourself as a volunteer for dLCV for this question. Anyone has a right to use the audio ballot voting machine. So you do not have to identify yourself. I'm going to do it when I vote early. I'm going to go into my own precinct and ask to use it. So this is really important because sometimes it's there, but poll workers don't know how to set up the machine or how to operate it. So do poll workers know how to operate and set up the machine? Yes, no, and comments. This is also something that we're asking for changes for this year. And I do see something weird happening with the text on this one. So we're asking when you are there, if you see a sign, and I'll email this PowerPoint out or have Yusuf email it out to volunteers. If you see a sign noting that voters can ask poll workers for assist, basically we're asking if at your own precinct you see a sign that notes that voters can ask for assistance. Yes, no, or comments. This is something that we've been working with the Board of Elections on because there should be a form, Elect 649, that should be voters can fill out to ask for assistance from anybody. But a lot of polling places, the poll workers don't know about that form. And a lot of people have been having issues getting that form. So we've been asking the Board of Elections to make it more publicized that form is available. So we're asking if, when you're in your own precinct, if you see a sign noting that voters can ask for assistance. And finally, on that sign to request assistance, does it state that there's a form to complete to have assistance in voting? Does it give you instructions on how to ask for that form? And again, yes, no, or comments. And then we ask for general comments about the process, about the survey, about what you're seeing, and we're asking you to upload pictures. Now, please note, do not take pictures inside your own polling place. These are pictures for outside. And if you're uncomfortable taking pictures, that's okay. You don't have to. But the pictures really help us in terms of when we get all of this data, we then submit a letter to the Board of Elections telling them about some of our findings. And these photos really help us to illustrate those findings. So now that's the end of mine. So I'm going to stop share. And I do see a couple of questions in the chat. So let's go through those questions. Okay. So I see Mark telling us about how his polling place is accessible and how he votes using the electronic ballot. That's great. Okay, I see a question from Belinda. I have already voted early. Does this matter? Can I still enter the polling place to survey? You should be able to at least do the outside questions, even if you can't go into the polling place to answer the inside questions. You should at least be able to do the outside questions. And in the comments area on the inside questions, you can say, voted absentee, just submitting outside questions. Okay. I see a question from Kelly. Signed up to survey multiple sites. How do I know the sites that I will go to? Yes, it will be emailed to you. I have certain staff have also already signed up, so I'm going to be coordinating staff and volunteers to, so if volunteers and staff have signed up for the same general areas, we can coordinate who's going to which sites. Okay, and I see there are accessible spots to vote from the car, which is good. but there's no accessible parking. Hold on, I just lost the question. No accessible parking for a block or so. I asked about it and she said, as long as there's parking to vote, it's okay. If you are still going out to that polling place, I would send us photos of that because I think some people who want to park and need an accessible place to park also may want to go in to vote. So I would question that. I do see, are there any other, if there's any other questions, if you guys want to come off of mute and ask your questions, that's fine.
I
Alexia, I do see
see.
your hand up.
Hi, this is Alexia. I am from the RevUp National Coordinating at the American Association of People with Disabilities. So
Okay.
I live in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious if you all needed additional help with polling place monitoring and if you have to be a registered voter in Virginia to be able to help with it.
So one place that I would reach out to for the Maryland component would be there should be a similar center as us, Disability Law Center or Disability Rights in Maryland. And I can send you their information. They may be doing polling survey sites for Maryland. So you can coordinate with them to see if that's something you could help with. Did I see that you were willing to do a little bit of Northern Virginia?
Yes, I am. There also are no elections in Maryland in 2023, so they would not
Okay.
be doing any
So they wouldn't be
polling
doing
place. But yeah, no, I just had learned about this from Rev Up Virginia and was just seeing if I
Yeah,
could provide additional support from Rev Up. But
that
no
would be
worries if it's
I mean, advertise it with RevUp. We've seen the advertisements going out. We really appreciate that. We're active with RevUp too, and that's a great way to get RevUp members involved. Thank you. Kelly, I see your hand up. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I signed up to do 2 sites, but I wanted to see what the survey looked like. So if I can do more than that, do I just email Yusuf back? Because I can do more than
Yeah,
2.
you
didn't
can
know how
email
extensive it
you,
was.
and we can update that on our Google poll. I mean, on
Okay.
our Google sheet for
Okay.
surveys, and then we appreciate any help we can get.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Questions?
I think DRC staff had their hand raised for a
Yes.
bit.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Sure.
I'm the one that asked the question about the polling place and the driving. Where our polling place is in early voting in Spotsylvania County.
Mm-hmm.
You have to drive around the corner next to the side of the building, and there are 2 spots where people will come out and help you vote. But for a block before that, there's regular parking, but there is no handicap parking. And I went in and I said something, and they said, we don't need handicap parking because they can come in and we can vote that way. And I said, I
disagree.
think that's wrong.
I disagree because I would disagree with that because they might not want to vote from the car. They might want to vote inside.
Well, exactly. I walked in and I walked with a cane.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a walk.
And you've already voted?
Then she said to me, well, you should have driven.
It's ridiculous.
All right. So I can complain.
Yeah. Give me, Yusuf has my email. And I can send me an email and let's chat on the phone and we can work on that together.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? And I'd be glad to stay on here for a little bit if people want to ask questions individually. And then I will also we will send out the voting survey so that you guys can see the electronic version.
We have a comment in the chat asking about if you need the voting computer, you have to go in.
Hold on, if you need the voting computer. If you need the low vision voting machine, is that what you're asking? I believe for the low vision voting machine, you do have to go in. Yes. Unless unless you're voting absentee and have asked for the low vision for the ballot to be emailed to you. And that's a whole different situation. But yeah, if you have an issue with that, please give us a call, send me an email. We can set up a time to speak. Because we do help individuals with voting issues, especially if it can be a systemic outcome. Okay. Any other questions? I don't see anything in chat. Did I just see something in chat? Whoa, 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 whoa. I just saw something come up. Are we supposed to do anything besides note if we see accessibility barriers that might prevent someone from voting? You're talking about the clear path to the door question?
No, I mean, what if there's not a sign for the accessible entrance, or what if there's, do you want
Then you
us
just
to
say
do
no.
any
You can say no
intervention,
on
or
the
just
survey and give us,
hold it?
like, you can say, if you don't see the sign
Okay.
for the
So we don't
accessible
need-
entrance, you can say no.
Okay, so there's no advocacy going on to make sure that people can vote. It's just a survey, correct?
There is advocacy going on as well. So if people are having issues, they can call us. If people are voting early and having issues,
Okay,
they can
is that on
call
the
us.
survey? Can we call?
For what?
If we see a barrier while we're out there, can we call you?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you can call us and let us know if you see barriers when you're out there.
Okay.
And
I'm just not sure.
we may address them after election day, but we will absolutely address barriers.
Okay. I just hate for anybody not to be able to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the same boat there. Any other questions? Well, once again, we really appreciate the help of volunteers. We are available to answer questions after this training if you have additional questions. And we really appreciate your time and your commitment to assisting Virginians in voting. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, is it over? Are we still training?
We just finished.
Oh, okay. Because I was just emailing somebody something.
Yeah,
It was
we just
very
finished.
okay. So it was very informative. Are you going to contact
Thank
us
you.
if
We will, so if I'm remembering correctly, you're signed up for a place where staff is also going to be doing some surveys as well. So we will coordinate with you and the staff member to make sure that like we're not duplicating our efforts.
Okay.
Because you signed up for the city of Fredericksburg, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I live in the
So,
city, but I'm right adjacent to Spotsylvania County too.
okay. So we have one additional staff member doing city of Fredericksburg. So I'll coordinate an email between the two of you and you can figure out who's doing which places.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank
Thanks
you
very
so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.